Welcome back to the channel and welcome to day 6 of our Car Care Tech Week. Today we're going to take a look at an affordable dual action orbital polisher. And we're going to put it through its paces and show you how to use it.
Yeah, and so right off the bat I'm thinking, is $250 affordable? I think if you're a pro and you're doing this every day, yeah, it probably does make sense. If you're an average Joe like us who in reality is only going to do this once in a while, this is a single purpose tool that is only ever going to be used to polish your car. It's not like the pressure washer that you could use for other things on a different day. So
exactly. And that's why if a pro would define affordable as $250, a weekend warrior like us probably wouldn't. So this unit checks in at just under $70 on Amazon. It has 6 speeds. And it'll go, I believe it's from 1,500 to 6,800 RPM. It is dual action, right? Which is the thing that, makes it, not a buffer, right? An orbital dual action, right? That's the dual action. And it receives a 4.5 star rating on about 6,300 reviews on Amazon. So, it's got enough track record to, not be fooling anybody. 10 reviews and you got a 4.5 star. That is one thing. This one's got some people using it. Right.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have an impulse buy threshold.
Mm-hmm.
It tends to be around $80
if
it's something that triggers me.
Yeah.
So this is good. That's cheap enough.
Well, sometimes my purchases are aimed at would Keith be able to just impulse buy this if I recommend it to him? And actually, you even have room on your impulse buy for an upgraded model that they have, and an upgrade, the other model they have is got more throw, right? So this one has a dual action throw, as they like to describe it, as 8 millimeters. The upgraded one has 21 millimeters, so significantly more throw. And the idea is that larger throw would give you more cleaning power, or not cleaning power, but polishing power. And make quicker work of things. It's $10 more. Its reviews aren't quite as solid. And I read some of them reviews that talked about, if you oil this and do that, then you're golden. I'm like, that just doesn't sound like something I want to dig into,
Right.
I definitely can't see you wanting to dig into, usually you want to buy something that's ready to go.
Yeah.
Not, what else am I going to have to do now that I purchased this?
Right. Yeah, well, viewers, here's your chance. If you would like to see what's the big difference between you said 8 millimeter and the 21.
Yeah.
If you're interested in it, leave us a comment, and then of course we're going to read those comments.
Right.
And that's even further justification. I'll probably raise my impulse buy threshold, and maybe we'll try one of those too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the unit that you purchased, the 8 millimeter one, what comes in that kit?
That is a great question. So you get the unit itself. It has a decent cord attached to it, but as you will all see and you experience, you're going to want an extension cord. You're going to need it.
Right.
It comes with 3 polishing pads. It comes with the yellow, the orange, and the black.
Mm-hmm.
And the instruction manual. So it's not got a ton of stuff, although you get your first 3 pads included. So that's not a bad deal.
Yeah. So these different colors you're talking about, what's the deal here? Is it can't be just a fashion thing, right?
No, it's not just, I like my polishing pads to be red. There is actually a distinct difference between the various colors. So the yellow is the most aggressive in this kit. Okay, there are more aggressive colors, but the kit basically comes with if you have some, more severe damage, here's a yellow pad. After you've treated it once, you can graduate to the orange pad, and then that pad hands off to the black. The black is really, in this kit, for the final polish, right? So it's the last layer that you're going to use in terms of, bad. It's almost like sandpaper, right? Think of it that
I was just
way.
about to say, I mean, the polishing compounds, which we haven't talked about yet.
Yep.
You would think that that's what gets changed from coarse to medium to fine. Mm-hmm. But the pads are also kind of that way.
They play a role in that, right? So you have, a pad matched with a compound, certain aggressiveness that you want to have.
That makes sense.
You can put the same compound on the orange pad and it's not going to have as much bite. Technically, I guess you could use the black pad for a compound, but you know, it's really designed for kind of that soft touch finish. You know, hey, we're gonna take things down to the micro scratch level.
Yeah, you know, back in the day, we just had blue, white, and yellow, and it was literally was just a fashion choice.
Yeah, yeah. What color do you like, or what do they have in stock?
Yeah. Yeah, so what's the plan then for our cars?
So our cars, and we have slightly different needs, right? And slightly different goals. Your car's got some damage. It's got more miles on it. Some things that the garage reached out and grabbed it.
We're going to say perfect is going to be the enemy of good job on my car.
Yeah. On my car, now both of them, I think, had enough contaminants that we're going to start with a clay bar system, right? So we're going to, after a good solid washing, we're going to use that clay bar with a lubricant to take all the contaminants off the paint. Because the last thing we want to do is take one of these polishers, right? High speed, grind contaminants into our paint and scratch it further.
Right.
So clay bar it. Then we're going to, on my car, start with the orange, and then yellow with compound on orange and yellow. And then finally we're going to do, I believe it's about 2 passes with the polisher. On your car, we did use compound in a couple places. We started, I think we just went orange, right? Because we weren't trying to get rid of every imperfection. What we wanted to do is basically, you know, better the ball, right? We wanted to just take the situation we had, make it look better. And so we had a little bit of orange on the hood, because that's kind of the, you know, the piece de resistance, right?
Yeah.
What you see first thing. So we got that taken care of, and it's in really good shape, right? The hood is probably your cleanest body panel you have.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then used the black with the polishing compound. And then later you'll see that we put a ceramic coating on it, but that is something we're going to unveil at a little bit later date. So
okay, that's the plan.
That is the plan. So one thing you're going to see me harp on a little bit in the video, and I'll just harp on ahead of time, right? Everything that we've done so far is to get the car clean and kind of protect it, and now we're doing even more work to clean up the paint. The power cord is like one of those things that, you know, kind of the hidden, you know, destroy the work that you've done deal. So it's important to keep that over your shoulder. Just make sure that you're keeping that out of the way. Part of me would really like to have, you know, a cordless one. Yeah. Although as much as we use that thing, I don't know, probably had to have like 6 batteries on hand to do it. But that's probably something else, you know, Keith, if you know, people wanted to see it.
Yeah, I would be interested in a cordless.
Yeah.
That would be, if I were going to do one, I think I would try the cordless.
If you want to see us take a look at a cordless one, you know,
let us know.
Let us know in the comments, right?
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at it. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into that video. We've delayed long enough. You'll see all the work that we did, and then we'll come back and give some of our thoughts.
All right.
We're on to the next phase. We're going to clay bar the Mustang and the Camaro. I've got the Mustang out here. Before we clay bar it, though, we are going to get any contaminants from the wax/soap removed from the surface of the paint. So you might have caught that I said the soap that I was using for the foam cannon was not ideal. It included a wax. So we want to remove that wax from the surface of the paint so that we can continue that paint correction process. What we're going to use for that before we clay bar is a 40% IPA mix. Okay, this isn't the IPA that you get at the local pub. This is isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so that isopropyl alcohol is going to remove that. I mix this up, again, the same spray bottle that we used for our 3D bug juice. Okay, so these come in handy, having these around so you can mix up those concentrates. This was 99% IPA mixed with distilled water. And then we are going to use this Mother's California Gold clay bar. We're just going to use a microfiber cloth with our IPA solution. And, oops, I got to turn this on. Get this in the spray mode here. And we're just going to give it a quick spritz on those areas that we're going to clay bar. And this is going to, again, remove those contaminants from the paint. So this particular kit, and this isn't necessarily what you'd always find, so you may end up having to kind of put some things together to make your own kit. But this came with this Showtime Instant Detailer. We'll talk about what that really is for in a second here. And then we've got two yellow clay bars. The one thing, you don't want to just grab this whole thing, use it all at once. If you drop your clay onto the ground, that clay gets thrown away. Again, we don't want to, introduce rocks and sand and any other type of debris from the ground onto the paint surface, because that's going to create new scratches that didn't exist. So we're going to peel off, a little chunk of clay, use a little bit at a time, and we're going to use this instant detailer. Okay, this is what they're including as the lubricant. So we're actually going to spray the surface of our paint and the surface of our clay bar on a regular basis, because we want to keep this surface wet, right? That's the lubricant that keeps us from being too aggressive with whatever clay it is, right? So however aggressive the clay is designed to be, we don't want to make it even more so and not have that surface lubricated. We want to glide across the surface, and as we're gliding across, remove those contaminants that are stuck to our paint surface and get a glass-like finish, so that then we can begin that process of removing the light scratches, the swirl marks, and things like that. I'm going to spray a small section, so I'm just going to do one half of my hood with the lubricant, okay? And then I'm going to spray the clay bar, and we're just going to take one area, okay? And we're just going to work this along the surface. You can actually kind of see some emulsion. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what that's coming from, but I'm just going to work the surface of the paint in a back and forth fashion. Not going to actually go in a circle or anything like that, kind of fight that urge to do that. And so let's go ahead and show this. So I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but see the particles on there? And it's interesting, it's actually kind of in the shape of my finger, so it's probably where I was putting some weight on there. I might need to flatten my hand out a little bit better. But that's what we're doing, is we're removing some of these particles and embedding them into the clay. Okay, so what I have here is the Avid Power AEP127. This is what they refer to as a dual action polisher. And so it does a couple of things to get that designation. One, the pad portion, right? The backer and the pad spin in a circular fashion. It also spins off axis. So you could see that it was not spinning right straight.
Yeah.
Okay. So the combination of that type of motion, along with if it gets, contact with something on the edge and it's kind of binding up, it'll stop trying to spin. So that is what helps keep this from being able to burn your paint. Mm-hmm. So this, is designed for people, weekend warriors. Yeah. It's probably not going to hold up to the rigors of a professional using this day in, day out, 3, 4 detailings a day. But for the cars that, I have in my fleet, so to speak, and as often as I'd use it, probably a lifetime thing. And even if it isn't, and I have to replace it, it was like $70. We will have a link for this on Amazon. This was not provided to us. I bought this. I've actually had it for quite some time. They still sell this. They also sell a newer model of it that has, a larger throw, which basically just means it's off axis. Distance that it moves is sure. Larger. Right. This, I think, has got like a 8 millimeter, throw in terms of off axis
eccentricity.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
exactly.
It's corded.
It is corded.
Yep.
So just a word of caution: the cord can cause damage to the paint, and we're trying to correct the paint, so we obviously don't want to be doing damage. So throw that over your shoulder. Just kind of be mindful of where you have the cable at all times, because we don't want to have that bumping into the car paint and undoing some of the results we're trying to create. Right. Now, when you're doing this, we're going to be starting with a compound, and we'll show you which compound we're going to use in just a second here. We're also going to be using, Keith is holding up, the polish conditioner, or the polishing pad conditioner. This is a lubricant. So we're going to spray this onto our pad. before we put on our compound or any polish. It just basically keeps that wet. Probably not as critical for a polisher versus a buffer, right? A buffer only spins in a circle, and that's what can really do the damage. But we'll put some of that to condition this. Every so often, we're going to clean our pad off, and you'll see what we're talking about. We are going to get, between the compound, the polish that we put on here, we're going to get some buildup on here. We'll want to clean that off, and if the buildup gets to the point where, you know, we're really not able to get it clean anymore, we'll just switch to a new pad. These pads are washable, so if you take care of them, this has been used, I don't know, maybe a dozen times. You can kind of see some remnants of use there. This is not a brand new pad, and they make polishing pad cleaner that you can use, and you just get it wet and then air dry it. It's got a Velcro back, and we actually have a whole extra kit of extra pads that we've purchased for our jobs. This is the compound we're going to use. This has a bit more bite than a polish, right? So the idea here is this is our first stage. We're going to do a test spot, and we've actually got some, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera here. We've got some imperfections, right? You see those? The swirl marks, and there's some light scratches and all of that good stuff. This is our first level, and we'll show you again, we'll probably show it multiple times, the paint layers, right? So the base, you know, you have the metal, and then you have a primer, and then on top of the primer is a base coat of color, which is very thin, and then the thickest layer of all of those is actually your clear coat. So that's what provides protection, but that's also where this damage is, right? It's in our clear coat. So we're actually going to take that down ever so slightly. We're going to clear out those imperfections, and then with some of the other steps, any of the dips in the clear coat, right, or depressions versus stuff that's built on top of it, any of those will end up filling. And what that ends up doing is basically changing the way that light reflects off of your paint. So your paint dulling can be oxidation, things that are sitting on the surface, but it's also indentations in the clear coat that prevent the light from reflecting back to you perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. I just keep thinking about the scales that we're operating on. We're looking at things in human scale. Our eyes are meant to operate on human scale, but we're doing things on a kind of a micro scale.
It is.
Kind of operating somewhat on faith. Some of these things you can see, some of them you can't.
Exactly.
It actually kind of reminds me of this social media post that I saw the other day where, was it Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think? He was talking about a thought experiment where imagine the tallest mountains on the earth and the deepest valleys and the ocean trenches. To us, at our scale, those are huge things.
Right.
But if you took the whole earth and you brought it down to the scale of a cue ball, that it would be smoother than any cue ball that has ever been machined, ever.
And that's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
It's crazy how scale really is hard to comprehend.
Exactly. Well, and that's why in the clay bar phase, right?
Yeah.
What we didn't use our eyes.
You can't.
To determine. I mean, we could use our eyes to see what was coming off of
onto the clay.
Onto the clay, right? Off the paint onto the clay. But we used our sense of touch. Right, this feels way smoother now that we've clay barred it. Right, so we're going to do this area roughly here. Just a few things. So again, we want to spritz. And I'm going to get make sure this is on, so I didn't start spraying without it being on again. So I'm just going to give this a oops, and to see it was on stream. I want it on spray. Never fails. There you go. You want to grab that? Thank you. So I'm just going to give it a couple sprays. Okay, get it lubed up, and then Keith, if you'll grab that compound, give it a quick shake, pretty vigorously. Shake weight time. What we're going to actually do is we're going to take the compound, and we're going to dab just 3 or 4 dots of it in various spots on. I did more than 3 or 4. We're just going to put some of it on to the pad, and then we're not going to start the pad right away. What we're going to do is we're going to just apply some of this in the area that's our test area.
Smushy.
We're just kind of smushing in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to verify that we're on the lowest speed for the polisher. I'm going to put the cord over my shoulder. We're going to just put this on the surface. We're going to start Okay, and I'm just going to let this do the work. We're just going to spread this around a little bit on our test area. So I'm just going to find all of that polish that we had, get it spread around, and once I have that spread around, now we're going to increase the speed to about level 5. And I'm just going to work all of this area. I'm not putting any pressure. Pete, I don't know if you can sense that, but I'm not putting any pressure on this at all right now. I'm just letting the tool glide across the surface, and it's doing the work. All right, so now to see what we've accomplished here, what we need to do is actually get one of our microfiber cloths. Actually, I think I have one in my pocket. So we're going to go ahead and take this off and just kind of gauge our initial results, okay? So it's not going to be perfect at this point. As a matter of fact, we've, in effect, scratched the surface of the paint up more than when we started, but we're really scratching it up in a specific manner. Now, Keith, I don't know if you can see the difference here, but I can still see some of the light abrasions, some of the light scratches here.
I don't think this lens is going to pick that up.
That's fine. That's fine.
I do think we're getting a wonderful shot of your garage door opener.
Oh, good.
So reflective.
Yes, yes. Well, and we're probably going to get more and more of that as we go through these steps, because each step is actually going to bring more shine to the paint. So I'm going to go ahead and put some more compound on, because I think we need one more level of compound in order to address some of these scratches. And the reason that I slow it down and then take it off the paint is we would splatter everywhere on that highest setting if I pulled it right off.
We'd be wearing it.
We'd be wearing it along with the car. So we're going to go ahead now and again with our microfiber cloth, just take off that residue that's on the surface.
That looks awesome. Already looks perfect. And I think this is one of the observations that I would make is we started with the pre-wash, and there's so many steps to do this the right way. And even after the first or second step, it's tempting to go, wow, car looks great.
I'm done.
We're done. You know, and it will look better than it did when you started. But each step you go, it does get a little bit better.
Yes, exactly. And this is one of those, you know, it's probably kind of an example of sometimes things have to get worse before they can get better. In some ways, we're going to make it worse, right? But then in others, we're going to make it better. I still see some, you know, some minor scratches and stuff on here. You know, there's some just light scratches, but some of those might actually be the ones that, you know, we've kind of introduced a little bit in this process of cleaning. I might do one more compound. So this might be a 3 compound job. And again, the swirl marks in here were pretty prominent, and so were some of the other imperfections in the paint. And so we're trying to get the big imperfections on this phase, and then we're gonna then bring it back with that polish, and really that less aggressive abrasion factor that a polish is going to have versus the compound is where we're really going to, now our scratches are going to be super fine, right? So we're actually scratching the surface, but in a good way.
Yeah,
and
all
then,
scratches are the same.
Exactly. I think we might have heard that on a YouTube video somewhere. And this is a game of patience, right? So as much as we want to just like slap some stuff on the paint and call it a day and be done, that's not really the game we're playing here. It's kind of a war of attrition, right? That the stuff on the paint surface is trying to outlast us, and we're not going to let it. We're gonna play the long game with it. And then also, don't be afraid. I've used the same cloth, but don't be afraid if you feel like it's kind of gotten a little bit saturated with items, to swap that out for a new one. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do so now.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
Perfect, perfect. Boy, I'm seeing very, very little now. I see just a little bit of activity in this area. Thank you. That's weird. It's got a dot. It's got a green dot on it from something. So what do you think, Keith?
Looks good.
This is the Meguiar's Mirror Glaze Ultra Finishing Polish. This is the next step. This is to basically put the oops, I accidentally got a little heavy-handed there, so I'll just kind of take a little bit off of what I put on the other elements. It'll be okay, because I'm going to smear this around. Again, we're going to put this right on that same area that we just treated, and we're going to see if this is the magic formula for getting the rest of the car where we want. So it might be 3 hits of the compound and 1 hit of the polish, or maybe it's a couple hits of the polish. We'll see. Verify I'm on 1. Go ahead and start this up so we can spread it around. All right, so let's wipe this in a straight line. All right, let's see what we got going. Whew. There's just the lightest. So I'm going to do one more polish phase, but now we're going to break out the black pad. So the black pad with this system is the final polish phase pad. So it is the least abrasive. It's for that final finish, if you will. So we go from yellow to orange to black in terms of how aggressive they are. And we're going to give this one more coat of the polish. And see how that turns out. I'm on 1. I think it looks pretty good. There's still just a few small imperfections, but I don't know if I'm going to try and go after those. Again, what's the result you're looking for? Well, I wanted the swirl marks gone, if at all possible. I'm not seeing the swirl marks. What I see now is literally just some light, very, very fine surface imperfections. Again, this is black paint, right? So this is ambitious, right? The black is kind of the, oh gosh, you're going after black? I don't know, what do you think?
Well, it looks perfect from the distance.
Wow. Oh man, even run your hand there and then,
oh yeah.
And that felt like glass before we started this. And now this really feels like glass. See, they're just ever so, you can find.
Yeah, and you have to get your light reflection just right to be able to see it.
Yes.
You need the light directly on it to.
Yeah, you have to kind of look from different directions to really find them. I think that's probably good, in terms of result. And we're going to be putting a ceramic coating on at the end point. I don't know that it makes sense to show them, us doing the whole car. I think you kind of see the one area, and really it's the same process all the way around. And that's way we can kind of be efficient and jump to some of the other steps, because we got a deadline.
Yes.
We only have so much time with Keith in Nebraska, so we've got to finish all the steps, and we still have more steps to do. We're still going to be cleaning the glass. We're going to be getting the trim. We're going to be showing the wheels and the tires getting taken care of, and let's not forget the rest of the interior that we have to do. And I don't know if you remember, but we have to tackle the beast. The interior of the minivan. We're removing the Skittles and Milk Duds and everything buffet that's stuck in the interior there. So anyway, we'll finish up my car. We'll jump over to the Camaro. All right, well, I would not call this perfect. This is the polish phase. It has not had a coating applied yet, but I will tell you, this finish compared to the starting point, pretty remarkable. All of the swirl marks are gone. There's still some very, very slight micro abrasions on the surface, and that bird mess on there. It's not quite gone, but man, do you really have to work to find it. So I think this has probably become like a, it's less than a 10-foot. I'd say it's like a 3-foot job, maybe even a foot job. You got to get really close to find the flaws here. And you can see from all the reflections, right? I'm not able to really film this very well without catching myself, all the lights, all of these reflections in the finish. It's just reflecting light everywhere. And at the end of the day, that's probably what my goal was, is to have this not have the any dullness, not to have any of those swirl marks. If I could get some of the light scratches and abrasions and that out, and just have the paint looking pretty close to brand new, that was a goal. It wasn't going to be perfect. We knew that. This is also our first time using a lot of these techniques all together, right? So as a system, the first time I've done I've done several of these steps alone, but never start to finish clay bar all the way through the polish, and then we still have to apply the sealer. We're going to put a ceramic coating on this, and that may even fill in some of the last of those very small micro abrasions. So anyway, that's the update on where we are. Okay, well, I hope everyone learned something from the video. We are going to recap some of the lessons just so that we can kind of reinforce, that educational aspect of this video. You do want to do things right, although these tools are fairly safe, and we'll touch on that. Being proper with this, one, results to not getting negative results. So let's kind of recap some of those things that people should do. And why don't we just, maybe we'll put those, up on screen.
Okay.
And we'll just, talk about those.
All right, so here we go. Let's prepare your surface for the process. That means we're going to wash, dry, and clay bar. If your paint doesn't have that smooth feel to the touch, you can use the clay bar to help remove those contaminants, as Bruce mentioned before. Next, select the compound or polish that you're going to use based, again, on the condition of the paint. So, like, for example, if you have deeper scratches, but not into the color of the paint, but just maybe the clear coat on top, well, you can use the yellow pad and the compound that we have linked below. So yellow pad and compound. Now, this might take several passes and swapping pads as needed when one is, too loaded with material. If that pad gets super saturated, just swap it out. And so you should have several of those pads of the same color available, before you get started. If you have less deep scratches, well, you can still start with the compound, but maybe only a single pass is all you're going to really need to do. And that would be, again, with the orange or the yellow pad, followed by the polish with the orange, right? So that's that. And then if you have light scratches and swirl marks, may be addressed with the polish only. So if you believe that, just start with this, as you always want to use the least aggressive step needed to achieve the results that you're looking for. So this may be able to be completed with just the orange pad. Have several of those available, though, still, so you can swap to clean when one is needed.
Yeah, and Keith, that is a great point, because that's basically the strategy we ended up using on your Camaro.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, thanks for going through that recap. And I think, I've used the polisher before, but I think it'd be interesting take for the viewers to see, someone that was picking it up for the first time. I mean, because you actually did the work on the Camaro, right? I didn't do your Camaro. What are some things that you learned, and maybe some tips on actually using it, having used it for the first time?
Yeah. So I actually was pretty pleasantly surprised with just the compound. So I did not do the compound and then switch pads to a different color and then I did a much faster version of all of this. But I started with the compound on the yellow pad, and I moved my hand pretty fast back and forth on the slowest speed possible. I'm telling you, just that just nailed one of these spots that has been on my car forever. I'm thinking it was a bird dropping that just left a spot that was noticeable, and has been on my car forever. Like, a car wash is not taking that thing out.
Right.
I literally thought that it was just there. And I was curious how this would work, and it immediately, I didn't need to do 3 steps of anything.
Right.
It blew me away. Just the compound on the yellow pad, 1 pass, maybe 2 passes, done. It was totally gone. Now, I went ahead and stepped up to the polishing compound on the black pad. I went straight to the smooth and did the rest of the car that way, and it was fine. So there were some areas of my car where the damage to the paint, it was a no-brainer that it was not going to come out.
Right.
I could just, even not being an expert, you don't need to be an expert for some of this stuff. You can see that that's not clear coat. That's deep.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's not. It's interesting when you see that psychologically. Yeah, you do it. You pass over it. You might notice if you think it's getting better or worse, but it's pretty easy to move on. You don't really dwell on that. But there were a lot of other places where my sheet metal was really in good shape, and made a big difference.
And how about effort? I mean, do you have to push, super hard on there, or
I didn't. No.
So
I'm lazy enough that I was. It was not a problem for me to.
To
not lean into it.
And that's good. That's good, because it was a trick question, right? Because here's the thing: the survey said number one response in terms of what you do with the polishers is let the tool do the work, right? And we may have even talked about that, on the video. I didn't even remember, but it's worth saying again, because you don't have to grind, right? This isn't a grinder. And actually, the more pressure you put on it, the more you're actually taking the tool out of its element, because you will stop that dual action portion of it. It won't spin. So that's good to hear. Pretty simple process there for you. I watched, and it looked like you kind of took off like a bat out of hell.
I was very fast. I was not patient.
Well, this has been a long week. I mean, you'll hear other parts of videos that we talk about it. This 8 days of work, for the video, it's the actual in the garage, in the driveway work part. We literally have 4 solid days of effort into this. With setup, and it takes us longer than it's going to take you in your driveway to do your cars. But it's plan on some time being committed if you have a certain result, and that's actually probably another good thing to highlight, right? Is you had different idea of what you wanted, it took more effort to get my Mustang through
Yeah.
all of my steps than it took you to get yours. But we were both at the end of the day, I think, super pleased with our results.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, don't be afraid to commit, a certain amount of time, and maybe you only get a certain amount of things done, right? If you get your car, taken care of and prepped, and you're ready for a ceramic coating, or maybe you're just putting a, quick wax on it.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
Right. I mean, the whole idea is you want to be able to cruise down the avenue and have something that looks better than when, you cruised to your house, and now you're cruising away in a better looking car.
That's right. Yeah, and one of the other points that I guess I probably should have mentioned when I was talking about my experience with this Orbital polisher is it being safe for, pros and Joes.
Mm-hmm.
And us being Joes, it's pretty safe because you mentioned it before, we're not grinding. We don't have like a buffer where it's spinning at, whatever 1,000 RPM come hell or high water.
Right.
And if you just lean into it, you're going to start grinding your car if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So
you're burning paint.
And the nice thing about this Orbital polisher is it is safe for people like us because we maybe don't have the exact level of intuition necessary to know when we're causing too much damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until it's too late, maybe.
Right.
But these Orbital polishers, the dual action, they'll spin, but and vibrate according to this pattern. But as soon as you put too much pressure, or if you put the pad at an angle to the surface of your sheet metal, such that it's not completely parallel or coplanar, I guess to use the engineering term, the coplanar.
Mm-hmm.
If you get off axis a little bit, it just stops spinning.
Hold on a second.
Just like that.
They need to finish doing their Google search on coplanar.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it with them.
Yeah.
But that is a great point. There's even a video on YouTube where some guys are like, okay, how safe are these really?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And they just, on the exact same spot, kept it going and going and going. It took them 12 minutes to finally get through the clear coat. 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think you spent 12 minutes on the entire Camaro, let alone 12 minutes on the same spot.
Yeah.
So,
well, I probably did more than 12 minutes.
You were fast. You were
maybe not much more.
Much faster than I was in that process. And that
probably took me a half hour.
Yeah, that's a reason, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
you've got a limited amount of time, you've got kids' soccer game or
that's
something
fine.
like that,
Yeah.
you could get this done and do it in the morning, right? Or late in the evening. But if you're losing light, one of the things that we found out, and we're kind of sweaty now, right, is there's certain hours, at least during the height of the summer, and we're still in the summer in Nebraska,
Right.
that this isn't the most, cool job to be doing. Yeah, you can get warm, right? Even though the tool's doing the work.
Yeah.
You can get warm even if you're not in direct sunlight. So, okay. So, one thing to note is I really don't have a lot to compare this particular, polisher to. But I can tell you, and you touched on the feature, right? The coplanar situation. My Mustang has a lot of situations just because of the way the sheet metal is formed.
Yeah, in all cars, really.
Right.
Yeah.
That coplanar situation popped up fairly regularly. And I've got a 6-inch backer and I use 7-inch pads because that's what they originally shipped. And they actually kind of recommend having some extra pads so that you're, if you come in contact with another surface, right, a mirror or some other part of the car, that it's pad hitting it and not backer.
Right.
But the downside of this is because it's such a large pad, it's pretty easy to get that non-coplanar situation going on.
Oh, the diameter's is big.
Yes, because it's a large diameter.
Yeah.
They make smaller diameter ones that do a better job, when you have those ridges, right? Because it takes more to have them not be coplanar.
Yeah.
I'm going to just grab onto this word and use it for a while.
Yeah, coplanar.
Coplanar, right? It's my new favorite word. So, that's something to maybe keep in mind. That's the trade-off is not, having the ability to ride those ridges and everything as well. But from an overall time perspective, can you imagine, cutting the size of the pad down by half or more?
You don't want to be spinning a pizza plate around. But if you had a tiny toothbrush size thing, then you'd be there for like 12 days.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. We would have had the 12 days of Car Care
Right.
Tech Week.
Right.
And there's no song for that one.
No,
No.
there's no 12 days a week.
No.
Yeah, so this isn't really like a comparison shootout review of different polishers. We just had Orbitals.
Yeah.
I almost called it an Orbital sander.
Yeah. Oh, I did one.
Kind of similar, I
one
guess.
other time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't have a bunch to compare from, but does that affect your ability to give this a seal of approval?
No. I mean, I think in a perfect world, if I had a 3-inch and the 6-inch to work with, that'd be great.
Yep.
But again, from a weekend warrior perspective, can I really cost justify that, right? Yeah. And truth be told, I already kind of tipped my hand a little bit that if I had to choose between a 3 and a 6, I don't really want to be polishing for days on end.
Right.
3-inch would be nice for doing those detail things, but until I have one, I think I'll take the 6 because of the speed. Right. If I had to have one, I want the 6-inch.
Yep.
And I think this is a great unit for the money that people would spend and the results that it helps you get. I don't see any reason that we shouldn't give it the seal of approval.
All right. That's it. Car Care Tech Week, Dad's Talk Tech seal of approval.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And I guess that concludes our 6th episode of our 8 episode long series of our Car Care Tech Week.
Absolutely.
8 days a week.
Absolutely.
We have 2 more to go, and
we do. We
should not miss them.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about some important topics. We're going to talk about some of the chemicals and the tools other than the polisher, right, that we used.
All right, so before we go, I don't think our audience really appreciates how much work we put in this week, so just give us a tip. Put a tip in the tip jar.
Yeah. I assume that means maybe a like, right?
Like.
That's the YouTube tip, I think.
Yep.
And while you're down there, giving us a little tip, how about massaging that subscribe button a little bit?
Yep.
I think if you're still watching at this point,
you deserve to reward yourself.
Yeah.
When you express gratitude and generosity, it helps you.
Yes.
So help yourself to our subscribe button.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, you don't want to miss, clicking that bell so that you know about those last 2 episodes being released. And after this tech, week is done, we're going to have more episodes.
Yeah.
So you don't want to miss those.
Right. Thanks for joining us. You'll see us next time on Dad's Talk Tech.